Tony Beets finally helps son Kevin, despite strife on Gold Rush this season on Gold Rush. One of the big storylines is the conflict between Tony Beets and his son Kevin Beets. Fans likely remember when Kevin no-showed Tony while working for him last season. Kevin didn't tell Tony until the season was about to start, and Tony had to scramble to replace him. Now, Kevin has his own crew and Tony is playing hardball on helping his son. There was even a moment where Kevin needed equipment but had no money, so Tony said no. Kevin had to go to Parker Schnabel for help. However, in the most recent episode, Tony finally agreed to help his son with some equipment. Kevin Beets wanted to prove he could mine on his own, separate from his dad, Tony Beets. However, things have not been easy for Kevin. He has some big challenges at Scribner Creek. It has been 9 weeks since the season started, and Kevin hasn't mined any gold yet. This is because of equipment failures and breakdowns. Kevin wants to prove he can do it on his own, and so far, he has failed miserably. He even dropped over $100,000 to buy an old piece of equipment from Parker Schnabel, and he still can't get moving on his claim. His D10 dozer has been out of commission for a month after a transmission failure. Finally, Tony agreed to loan his son a D11 dozer to help out, but it really wasn't something he did just out of the kindness of his heart. Tony Beets and his wife Minnie visited Kevin's site. Kevin still owes his parents a 10% royalty from the leased land. He was behind on payments, and Tony was there to find out what was going on. Tony finally offered up a solution. He loaned his son the $4 million 11 dozer to help speed up the process, and he agreed to pay to repair Kevin's D10. Kevin seemed grateful and thanked his parents for the help. Tony, being Tony, said they should bump up what he owes them from 10% to 15%. However, Minnie shot that down quickly, saying they don't do things like that to their children. Tony knew better than to cross his wife. The new dozer has helped accelerate operations at Scribner Creek. It also helped boost the morale of Kevin's crew, who were all growing disenfranchised as the mining operations kept getting put on hold. What are your thoughts on Kevin Beets and his struggles this season on Gold Rush? Are you surprised that Tony Beets finally broke down and helped Kevin? Let us know in the comments below. Sean Esalilos has been a freelance writer for over 25 years and is a voting member of the Oklahoma Film Critics Circle. He is also a published author with a book about the Stephen King Dollar Baby filmmakers. Tony Beets finally helps son Kevin despite strife on Gold Rush. Tony Beets, the larger-than-life gold mining mogul from Discovery Channel's Gold Rush, has become a familiar face to viewers across the world. Known for his hard-nosed approach to mining, his larger-than-life personality, and his unwavering belief in hard work and grit, Beets has always been a man of few words but many actions. For years, fans have watched Tony push his family, particularly his children, to the limits of their patience and capabilities. His relationship with his son Kevin has been especially complicated, filled with tension, struggles, and the constant struggle for approval. Yet, in a season filled with high stakes, challenges, and the expectation of gold, Tony Beets has finally made a significant step in mending his relationship with Kevin, helping him despite the challenges that have persisted between them. Kevin Beets, Tony's eldest son, has always been a key figure on the show. He's often seen operating heavy machinery, overseeing operations, and facing challenges both on and off the gold mining site. While Tony has always been a tough taskmaster, it's clear that Kevin, like many sons of ambitious fathers, has felt the weight of expectations hanging over him. The dynamic between the two has been a focal point of Gold Rush since the beginning of the series, and fans have long speculated about the future of their relationship. Would they finally find common ground? Or would the Beets family legacy be tainted by unresolved tension? The strained relationship over the years, fans have witnessed a series of interactions between Tony and Kevin that highlight the difficult father-son dynamic. Tony, despite his success, has often been criticized for his inability to show much warmth or emotional connection to his children, particularly Kevin. His tough exterior is impenetrable, and his approach to work, often bordering on harshness, leaves little room for tenderness. Kevin, on the other hand, seems to want more from his father, a level of acknowledgement and appreciation that has, at times, been absent. This imbalance has created a certain amount of resentment and frustration. Kevin has repeatedly expressed his desire to prove himself capable and competent in his own right, separate from the shadow of his father's towering reputation. He has pushed Kevin, perhaps intentionally, to become more independent, while offering very little in terms of support or encouragement. This tough love approach, while somewhat effective in the high-pressure world of gold mining, has left its marks on their relationship. As the years passed, the cracks in their relationship became more evident. There were moments when Kevin seemed ready to step up and take on more responsibility within the operation, but Tony would often intervene, making sure Kevin knew that the ultimate decision-making power still rested in his hands. This dynamic was highlighted in several episodes where Kevin was given opportunities to run parts of the operation, but was met with criticism, micromanagement, or simply a lack of faith in his abilities. It was clear to viewers that despite the outward success and the gold that was being mined, there was an emotional distance between Tony and Kevin. This was especially difficult for Kevin, who yearned to prove his worth to his father and to step out of his shadow. Turning the tide. A new chapter for the Beets family. As Gold Rush progressed into its latest season, fans began to see a shift in the Beets family dynamic. Kevin, now older and more experienced, had been steadily growing into his role. He had proven himself capable of handling the pressures of the mine, whether it was overseeing the dredge or coordinating teams. However, it was clear that the challenges were only growing. The operation had expanded, and the demands on the Beets family were intensifying. In what seemed like a moment of reckoning, Tony, despite his usual gruff demeanor, made an unexpected decision. A pivotal moment came when Tony, realizing that Kevin was struggling with certain aspects of the operation, took a step back. In a rare move, Tony actually extended a hand of support to Kevin, offering his expertise in a way that demonstrated an emotional evolution of sorts. It wasn't that Tony had changed overnight. Rather, it seemed that years of tension and unspoken expectations had led him to a realization. Kevin was ready to step up, and he, Tony, needed to give him the chance. This shift was subtle but undeniable. In one episode, Tony was seen offering advice to Kevin on a particularly challenging part of the mining operation. Instead of criticizing Kevin's every move, Tony carefully explained the nuances of the equipment, sharing his experience and wisdom. The moment was powerful not just for the information being passed down, but for the emotional context surrounding it. Tony, for once, seemed to acknowledge Kevin's struggles, not just as a miner, but as a son. Kevin's reaction to this gesture was telling. Though he had long been frustrated with his father's approach, the genuine help and advice from Tony meant more to him than any harsh words of criticism. It signaled a recognition of his growth and potential, a sign that perhaps his father had finally begun to see him as a capable man in his own right. The family legacy Tony Beets has always been vocal about his desire to leave a legacy behind, a legacy of hard work, success, and gold. For years, he has pushed his family to work alongside him, often at great personal cost. The Beets children, particularly Kevin, have felt the weight of these expectations. However, what has been missing from the equation is the sense of emotional support that underpins family relationships. Gold may be the goal, but for Tony, the importance of maintaining a family legacy, of passing down not just the operation, but the emotional bonds that accompany it, had been obscured by his singular focus on work. Tony's decision to help Kevin, despite the rough patches between them, could be seen as an acknowledgement that the family's legacy is not just built on the gold they extract from the land, but on the strength of their relationships. By finally extending the support Kevin had longed for, Tony is building something that will last beyond the mines, an emotional connection between father and son that will form the foundation of the Beets family legacy for generations to come. The road ahead for the Beets family still faces plenty of challenges, both in the mines and within their own relationships. Tony's leadership style is unlikely to change completely, and Kevin will continue to struggle with balancing his desire for independence with his desire for approval. But the breakthrough moment between father and son marked a significant shift in their relationship. There was a recognition that they both had to evolve, that their futures, both personal and professional, would be intertwined in ways they hadn't fully acknowledged before. The evolution of their relationship suggests that Tony, despite his tough exterior, is beginning to realize that the emotional bonds between family members are just as important as the gold in the ground. This shift is not just about Kevin gaining his father's approval, but about Tony opening up in a